the drums of war. Roll back the freedoms that we struggled for.
Jackson Brown singing Drums of War. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Our guest, whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg, he released the Pentagon Papers. WikiLeaks is being compared to that. It's the largest release of secret documents in history. More than 92,000 records, that's more than 200,000 pages, have now been released online. Rick Rowley is with us, just back from Afghanistan with Big Noise Films. Gareth Porter is with us in Washington, D.C. Stephen Gray in London just interviewed Julian Assange for Channel 4, and Matthew Ho, highest-level government official to quit his position in Afghanistan because of the war there, also a Marine Corps captain. Matthew Ho, I want to go to you. You worked with Task Force 373.
Loosely. It's a very integrated, with these special forces operations, I hope people aren't getting the idea that, at least of last year, they're off by themselves running amok. It's a fairly well integrated operation that spans political efforts as well. Give you an example, as a political officer, you would review the target list to make sure we weren't killing or going after anyone who's actually working with us. A lot of times what happens, the point was made that we kill the wrong people. Well, you know, sometimes we get the right guy, but he's actually just somebody who's been turned in by someone who's got a grudge against them. One of the things I hope people see from these documents is how complex the nature of war is, how difficult war actually is. And so the question has to be asked, is it worth it? What we're asking our young men and women to do, is it worth putting them through this? And what benefit is it to the United States? But the other point about the special operations raids, these capture-kill missions, if this worked, if this was a viable method, we would have won this thing back in 04, 05. You know, and the other point, too, about Dan Ellsberg's excellent point about the strength of the Taliban, I complete agreement. And if you actually go back and look at comments made by General Barno, who was the commanding general of American forces in 04 and 05, back then he was saying there were only 2,000 Taliban. Last summer they said there's 40,000. And I concur with Dan Ellsberg. We've sent 30,000 more troops into southern Afghanistan, and that probably has exponentially increased the strength of the Taliban, because we see the Taliban get their support because of resistance to foreign occupation and resistance to a corrupt and unrepresentative government.
Stephen Gray, the newspapers that WikiLeaks worked with in releasing this, and it's still all just being digested. It's less than 24 hours ago. By the way, Eric Schmidt, the reporter for the New York Times, said they've been working with the White House now for weeks and carefully going through and redacting names and other sources that might be compromised. So the White House was fully aware of what's in these documents. And he actually said Julian Assange has agreed to hold back a number of documents to go through that kind of redacting process before they're released. But Stephen Gray, the Guardian writes, in many cases, the unit has set out to seize, talking about Task Force 373, seize target for internment, but in others it has simply killed them without attempting to capture. The logs reveal that TF-373 has also killed civilian men, women, and children, and even Afghan police officers who have strayed into its path.
Well, that's right, and I've been looking through those same documents. I mean, they do show a lot of people are captured. It's not just a kill operation, but they on the other hand, they are systematically using methods that don't allow you to capture. For example, there was one missile strike that they used to try and take out one person they were supposedly trying to capture, and you know it killed a bunch of children instead. And they try to, you see them trying to prevent that information being released to anyone other than than themselves, and it is quite shocking.
Let's go back to Gareth Porter in Washington, D.C. Talk more about the significance, what you think is most important to highlight here as we go through these hundreds of thousands of pages of top-secret documents, classified documents.
Well, again, I mean, there are very few things here that have not, in some fashion, been reported by the news media over the last, particularly over the last year or so. But there's one set of documents in particular that I thought were particularly insightful in terms of revealing the basic nature of the society and of the Afghan government that the United States is supporting. And that is a set of documents that show, for example, a district police commander who had raped a 16-year-old girl and who was confronted with a civilian complaining about this rape. He ordered his bodyguard, according to this report, to shoot the civilian. The bodyguard refused to do so, and then the police commander simply killed his own bodyguard in order to basically deal with the situation. This sort of laid bare the basic structure that the United States has stumbled into, or perhaps I should say has allowed itself to take control of, or tried to take control of. And I think what it shows is that this is a war that not only cannot be won, but in which the United States is on the wrong side. And I just want to make one more point about the releases, and that is that I think that the real story here, the most important story, is WikiLeaks itself. I think what we have here is a new institution that is undoubtedly the most important anti-war institution that has been created so far, and that I have no doubt is frightening the U.S. military and intelligence establishment, as well as the Obama administration, very strongly. And I think that's for very good reason. I think they understand that this represents a potentially powerful weapon for the future against war crimes as well as other illegal actions by the United States.
I'm going to give, for the last few seconds, Daniel Ellsberg the last word. As we come full circle from Vietnam and the Pentagon papers that you had released at tremendous risk to yourself, to WikiLeaks right now, and this unprecedented release of top-secret documents.
Well, this is the closest that I've come to what I've been calling for years, and that is for people to do not what I did, which is to wait years until bombs were falling and until more countries have been invaded or escalation before revealing documents to Congress and the public through the press. And now, of course, we have a way of doing that, thanks to WikiLeaks, that does bypass the press even if they are reluctant to do it.
And
I've been very critical.
We're going to leave it there. We want to thank you very much, Daniel Ellsberg, for joining us. Thank you to Rick Rowley of Big Noise Films, Gareth Porter in Washington, D.C., Stephen Gray in London, author of Operation Snakebite, and Matthew Ho. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for being with us.